Hello and welcome to the Daring and Mighty podcast with me, your host, Katie Phillips. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and you are in the right place if you are a high achieving midlife woman who has the desire to come home to herself even more, because you know that the more aligned you are with yourself, the more that you're living into your values, speaking your truth, and showing up in the world in a way that really is a true and authentic reflection of you, well, that's being daring and mighty, right? So welcome. We're on the same team here. And I have a story I'd like to share with you today. And it's taken me some time to be ready to share this story. Not that I am bothered about being vulnerable, and I love nothing more than being incredibly open and honest about myself and my journey. It's more that I've been so in this experience for such a long time, and being able to piece together what it's been about for me to be able to have the perspective and a kind of a more broader perspective, broader vision of where I've been. I couldn't speak to it. So the story I want to share, and this leads on from the first episode, my introduction to the Daring and Mighty podcast. So hopefully you heard that. And if you didn't, I would love for you to go back and listen to episode number 1, where I'm talking about the 3 different phases of my life. And this may apply to you too, which is why I love to share stories, because we take from other people's stories. It helps us to understand more about ourselves, doesn't it? And there's a part of the story I was sharing on the last episode where I spoke to moving out of the second phase of my life into the third phase. So that was around the age of 50. And I also shared that at that time, I got this extra little tattoo. Can you see that? It's a little circle. And this circle means completion. And it was the completion of the second phase of my life. But when I had the tattoo done, I didn't know that. I knew I was completing a cycle of something, which I'm about to share with you. But I didn't know at the time that I was completing the second phase of my life, and that this circle, not only does it mean completion, but essentially it marks the portal into the third phase of my life, which is a phase of wisdom. And more is obviously about to be revealed to me, because I'm only just entering this phase at the age of 51. What I want to speak to is this portal that moved me from a space in my life where I was very much integrating and embodying, largely through sharing, teaching, and coaching other women, who I am in the world, and really taking ownership of that on a very deep embodied level. To be able to move from that space into a place of wisdom. And by the way, when I say that, I still don't feel completely comfortable. There's kind of an egoic part of me that, I don't know, I don't love saying I'm wise. And maybe that's part of what I'm moving into now, is really allowing myself to receive that truth, that that is who I am, and what I'm getting to expand even more into. And then back to the portal that has moved me into this space. And that portal I have come to affectionately refer to as the sacred void. So again, little did I know when I had this little tattoo done of a circle on my thumb, which at the time meant completion. It's also an empty space, right? It's an empty space. There's nothing going on inside that space. And yet, when you consider the womb of a pregnant woman who has the embryo growing into a beautiful baby, that once empty space is a place of incredible creation, remarkable creation. So often in space, when we create space and have space, it feels like there's nothing there. It looks like nothing's happening. And yet so much is going on. So much is being created. And for me, I went through a phase of about 2.5 years, and I'm just coming out of it, by the way, to be able to speak to it now, that I called the sacred void. So let's go back in time a minute. It began on the 1st of January, 2023. First day of a new year, feeling a little jaded from my New Year's Eve activities, and very much consciously looking forward to the year ahead. Now, at the end of 2022, I just finished a huge launch. At the time in my business, I was very focused on working with single midlife women, and I had been for several years. And I was doing regular women's experiences called Meet Your Soulmate, and having huge success with that. And off the back of that, women were coming in to work with me on different programs. The two key ones were called Love Alchemy and Daring and Mighty Love. So for several years, I'd been doing this incredible empowered feminine work, supporting midlife single women to get energetically prepared to be the vibrational match for the person they were calling in. And at the end of 22, I just finished this huge launch, successful launch, and was already planning 23. You know, as a good girl, as a good businesswoman, I had my plans in place for the following year. And it made sense to kind of piggyback off the back of that very successful launch and do it again and do more and create more and be louder, put more out into the world. It was all more, more, more. And I'd been on that more, more, more momentum for a while, because when the world went into lockdown at the beginning of 2020, when we all first heard those terrifying words of pandemic, I felt less fear and more drive. For me, I heard the words, and I'm not going to lie, I went through my own phase of questioning and feeling fearful, until I felt a deep calling that there was nothing to be scared of, and all the work I'd done up until that point had prepared me to hold safe, powerful space for women who were scared, and for women who wanted to move through this crazy change in the world where we were all suddenly at home, not understanding what was going on and living with so much uncertainty and doubt. My role was to hold safe space for the women that wanted to come into my community. So while a lot of the world was retreating, a lot of the world was stopping work, a lot of people found themselves being, what was the word, furloughed. I was ramping things up. I was going live every day, and the momentum grew day by day by day. My community was growing, my work was expanding, and it was a very, very productive time for me. And I was just in flow. It was pure flow with so much momentum, so much energy and drive. And that just built and built and built. And so then I get to the beginning of 23, ready to continue with that momentum, except I suddenly didn't have the energy. I suddenly had zero drive. And it wasn't burnout, although I knew deep inside that if I carried on the way I had intended, and that was planned and all laid out and scheduled, I would burn out. And there was something about my age. I must have been 48, if I'm getting my years correct. And there's something about the decreased estrogen, the decreased testosterone, all the things. Like while I was taking hormone replacement, there was these chemical shifts in my body, and my body was literally saying to me, enough is enough. You have been working really hard. And while it felt good, while it felt aligned, while, hand on heart, I really was changing women's lives. And I had created this beautiful community of incredible women. I was so proud of it. I just couldn't do it anymore. Like my body physically was saying, enough. And there was a deeper calling, like it was coming from my soul, saying, you have to stop. It was just stop. Now, I kind of felt like that at times. And of course, we go through phases as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, where we just want to stop. I've had plenty of times where I think, surely it'd be easier to just go get a job, to not be the one in charge, to not be the one running the show all the time. And those little fantasies would come and go, and I would have dips in my energy, and my husband would rally me, and he'd be like, you got this, Katie. Just take a few days off, you'll be back. And that's always how it went. And that was okay. But on the 1st of January 2023, it felt different. And we were driving home, and I said to James, I have to stop. And there must have been something in the energy in the way I said it. And he just looked across at me and he said, so stop. He didn't try to rally me. He didn't try to boost my ego or give me confidence or reassure me or tell me to take a little break and you'll be okay later. He knew. He heard it. He felt it just as I did. And I burst into tears because that gave me permission. As soon as he said, so stop, I could feel my entire nervous system kind of down tools. It was time to stop. Now, for a high achieving A-type person such as me, and I wonder if you can relate, the idea of stopping is absolutely terrifying. I mean, it's what we dream about. I would fantasize about it. It didn't feel like something you actually got to do. You don't get to stop. The world keeps spinning. Mortgages need paying. Children need whatever they need for school. Food needs to go on the table. I need to take nice holidays. You can't stop. And so I spoke with James about this over the next few days, and he reassured me that I had created a beautiful business and I had savings. I'd set myself up really well. In fact, the structures of my business would sustain me for a long time. So much so that I could pull back and continue to contribute for a period of time. And so I gave myself permission to stop. And this coincided with us moving towards leaving the United Kingdom. So you might know I'm actually Australian, but I lived in the UK for over 25 years. And my husband, James, had this incredible opportunity to move his work over to the United States. And we ummed and ahed about it. And in the end, we decided, let's do it. We need an adventure. The family needed an adventure. There was a lot of question marks, but we figured, let's be daring and mighty. Let's go and start whatever this next adventurous chapter is. So the decision to move country and then begin to pack up our home, rent out our home, relocate, find a new home, find schools, all the things that it takes to set up in a brand new country. And it's a lot. If you've never done it, I'm sure you can imagine everything from your phone to your bank account, to your doctor, to your dentist, to your, you name it. Every single system and structure that you have in your personal life shifts. It's not like moving to another house in the same country that you live in. So it was a huge undertaking. And what a blessing that I decided to stop, because I suddenly had the time to really honor the closing down of our life in England. And with a lot of ritual, I was able to move from that country and start a new life in a new country. The gift of giving myself permission to stop was a gift in so many other ways. An example that immediately pops to mind is when one of my best friends, Jenny, she had a cancer diagnosis, and she was going to start radiotherapy. And the second she told me, I was able to say, I'm coming. And I jumped on a plane and I went to Australia where she was having her radiotherapy. And I was able to be with her for the first week of that. And then her sister was able to join to follow up the next weeks. What a gift. What a gift. I was able to spend proper quality time with my son while we were packing up his life in England, the only life he'd ever known. And only about a year earlier, his father had passed away. So he was moving through enormous amounts of grief and change. He was very much driving forward our decision to move to America. He was the most excited about it. He was ready for a real gear change. And because I wasn't building a business, because I wasn't launching something new, because I wasn't on to the next thing all the time, I was able to be really present for him. What a gift. I remember another friend going through a cancer journey, and she was writing a blog. It sounds crazy and so simple, but I had the time to read her blog. Had I been launching and busying myself in the business that year, I wouldn't have stopped to read it. I'd have put it on a to-do list and probably never got to it. And what does that say about me? And what a shame would that be? It was such a privilege to read her blog because she shared so openly and vulnerably. It was beautiful. And I will never forget one morning sitting in bed with my cup of tea, not rushing off to be somewhere, receiving her words, feeling her pain, just feeling her experience. And it hit me, what is this life if we don't create those sacred moments in time to not just be there for ourselves, but to connect with other humans? Yes, it's a real privilege. And I don't take it lightly that I was in the very privileged position to be able to stop. And I knew it wasn't going to be forever because I am a driven woman. I'm a very purposeful woman and I want to contribute to the world. Here I am right now as testament. I didn't know how long the stop would be. That felt scary. And I'd only known being in action and working since I was 14. My first job was at 14. I'll never forget it. $4.21 an hour I made in Australia. I will never forget my first pay packet. All I've ever known is to financially support myself. So to give myself permission to stop also meant, in my head at the time, it meant turning off the financial faucet. It meant turning off the tap to my financial flow. Turned out that isn't exactly true. But that was the fear voice in my head. If you stop, Katie, if you stop being purposeful, if you stop driving forward, if you stop contributing the way you've always known, the money stops too. But that's not what happened. I had to move through, and it took me by surprise, I had to move through a lot of shame, particularly around money, within this decision to stop. Because I had always contributed financially, and even in my marriage, I contributed 50-50. It's what we did. It was our agreement, and that felt good for me. To not contribute made me feel deeply ashamed. Now, as it happens, the way life reorganized itself around us at the same time, coincidentally, in inverted commas, at the same time as me pulling back and not working in the way I was, or bringing in the same money that I was, we received financially in many very different ways. There was absolutely no pressure on me to contribute in the way I always had. I just didn't have to. What I would usually have to contribute towards was just appeared for us. I don't need to go into all the details right now of how and who and what went on, but suffice to say, my career and James's career and what we co-created together and what we manifested together created a life for us here in America that took the financial pressure off us. And that was a miracle I could never have made up. And so I was moving through the feelings of shame and embarrassment and not enoughness around relinquishing financial responsibility. And as I moved through that more and more, I came to realize even more than I already knew. And this was the thing when I was in my sacred void, this time of stopping, what I discovered about myself, what I healed even more, what transformed and evolved, none of it was necessarily new. It was just a deeper layer. And to support myself through those deeper layers, I found myself journaling quite often and writing statements, writing affirmations of what I knew to be true, because so much felt uncertain. As wonderful as it was to have manifested this life where I didn't have to contribute financially in the way I always had, I didn't know how to accept that. I didn't know how to relax into that, and I did not know how to receive it. So my journaling and my affirmations and statements of truth were about receiving, like really giving myself permission to receive everything I'd created, to receive without doing, and to receive from source. So I've always known that source, the divine, is the channel. I am not the source of what I manifest in the world. The divine is. I have always known that, and it's something I've taught many times over. I am not the source. The divine, God, universe, life, whatever your language is the source. We little humans with bless our little human brains, we think that we are the source of everything. And it's too much responsibility. When we realize that we're not, it opens up our channels to receive. Apparently, I needed to understand that on a much deeper level. And so I was writing affirmations and mantras to help me receive and to help me deal with the uncertainty at that time too, because while yes, so much was being taken care of, I didn't know for how long this stopping, this void was going to take. And there was an impatient part of me that was like, how long have I got to sit in this? How many more lessons do I have to learn in this empty space? It was like coming off some kind of hardcore drug for me to suddenly have all of this time and space every day. And by the way, I was still working. I still had my membership. It was called the Love Lounge, and that ran for 5 years. I had about 250 women move through that space. That was still running. That was a structure of my business that was kind of on autopilot. And my role was to show up weekly, deliver in that space, hold that space, sometimes daily, but only for a little bit each day. And it was easy for me. I mean, that's just fun for me to be in that space. So I kind of had my membership ticking over, and I had a few private clients on the go. But like I said, I was no longer creating anything new. I wasn't launching anything new. I wasn't growing my business. There was no push or drive. I was just gently moving with what had been created over several years. I still felt like I was doing nothing though. And it still felt uncomfortable to be in that space of nothingness. So coming back to these affirmations and mantras I'd write, and I've actually got a page of my journal here. And I just wanted to give you a little example of the kind of things I needed to write down to relax my nervous system, to calm my questioning, sometimes freaking out mind, and to really hear the truth of my soul, because this is what was true. So here I am. I'm going to read you very honestly and vulnerably exactly what's on this page. And this page is dated 18th of August 2023. So I was only like 8 months into my sacred void. And we had been at this point living in America for 1 month and 8 days. So I was still very much settling into a brand new country. Okay, it says, I am financially fully supported in every way without having to work. I had to tell myself that because the habit of my mind would take me down rabbit holes of multiple other stories that just weren't true. I had to rewire my mind to get that this was the truth. I am financially fully supported in every way without having to work. That took me several months to really understand that that was the truth. My brain absolutely wanted to tell me otherwise. It wanted me to believe that I was unsafe if I wasn't functioning in high action drive. James supports me in not working. That was key. My brain wanted me to believe that my husband would not be supportive of me not contributing, that he would be jealous, that he would feel taken advantage of, that it would be unfair, that he would think less of me. I mean, the woman he fell in love with was a very driven, motivated, purposeful woman. Maybe he wouldn't want to support the new Katie that was pulling back. So I had to write it down that he supports me. I use my time in ways that feel inspired because my brain wanted to believe that I was wasting time, that I was losing time. No, the truth was I could use time in ways that felt inspiring, and that was okay. It was okay to move through my days guided by pleasure, guided by what felt good. Because my workload was so small, every day I could choose, what would I like to work on today? Maybe I don't want to do anything today and I can do it tomorrow. But everything that I produced while I was still private coaching and running my Love Lounge membership, I only produced when it felt good to. Don't we all want to get to that? Apparently, I had to rewire my mind to allow myself to receive the truth that I had worked hard for so many years to put myself in a position where that got to be my truth, if I would dare to receive it. So I wrote it down until my brain got it. Then I wrote, I am guided to my next right actions that are aligned and in flow. My brain always thought that it had to come up with the next right action, that I had to have a plan and I should follow the plan. Now, truth be told, what I have taught for years and what I do know deep in my soul is that when we are tapped in, particularly to our feminine energy, we can listen to the whispers of our soul and we can take inspired action. And that is a beautiful freaking place to exist. And there's no doubt that for many years, I have been moving through the world in that way. And not as much as I'd like to, and still with some fear and still with some attachment to me thinking that I have to come up with a plan all the time and that I cannot trust divine timing, that I cannot trust the timing of my own soul, that I can't trust that the next right action I take is coming from a place of pleasure and ease for me. That was something I was still learning and developing, and I continue to. This place in the void was space to really rewire that and know that to be true. I enjoy going slow. That's what I wrote next. Makes sense, right? We enjoy going slow. But do we? Apparently, I had to write it down to remind myself that I do actually enjoy going slow, that it's okay, that it's safe. I mean, I won't go into it all right now, but if you're relating to this, if you have a desire to go slow, and hey, I talk to a lot of women who have a desire to go slow, but the idea is terrifying, or the practicalities of that completely elude them. Because often what's going on is like our nervous system is wired to keep going. God forbid we stop. That would not feel safe. And if you look right back to that moment or those moments, or it could be your entire childhood, where perhaps it wasn't safe to let your guard down, to not be on high alert, it makes sense that you don't really want to stop. I mean, we say we want to stop, we say we want to go slow, but there'll be a part of us saying, no, you do not. That is not safe. And this is the case for me. I mean, through this whole period of time in the void, I would say that I realized that to quite a degree, I'm a workaholic. All I know is to keep going. So I wrote down to remind myself of the truth. I enjoy going slow, and that's okay. Then I wrote, I can stop when I need to. Same thing. I can create when I'm inspired to. Same thing. I know that my purposeful contribution is always happening and being revealed because Spirit has a plan for me and my desires are known. That was the final thing I wrote. There were many other pages. This is just one page that I tore out of my journal to read you today. Let me read that last one again. I know that my purposeful contribution is always happening and being revealed because Spirit has a plan for me and my desires are known. That brought me so much comfort to write that and to read it regularly, because so often I did not feel like I was purposefully contributing to the world. But I was doing different things. I was contributing in different ways. I mean, I started coming up with new recipes. I cooked, and I cooked from a place of curiosity and exploration and trying new things. And it was creative, and it felt so nice to be able to care for my family while my son was getting used to a brand new school and my husband was getting used to a completely new job with new people. And while we were all adjusting to a totally different way of life in a new country. Oh my gosh. And in the middle of summer, my God, it was hot. I've never known heat and humidity like we have here in Alabama. So I got to hold space for them all, even for the animals. We have a dog and a cat, Boomer and Luna. I got to take care of them as they adjusted. I planted a vegetable garden. I have wanted to plant a vegetable garden for as long as I can remember. I finally got to do it. And I got to have the experience that's just one of my absolute favorite things, where I'd wake up in the morning, I'd make a cup of tea, and I'd walk out to inspect my vegetables barefoot on the dewy grass with my steaming cup of tea in hand. And I'd go inspect my cucumbers and my tomatoes and my beans and my basil. I mean, the joy of that. And I got to travel. I got to spend quality time with my husband and my son. I got to receive guests and friends who've come to stay with us, not distracted by the next deadline. The whole thing has been a real gift, a real gift. So where does that leave me? We are now 2.5 years on from, a little more actually, 23, 24, yes. I have to work it out. 2.5 years on from that day at the beginning of January 23, where I was instructed to stop. And the world has not fallen apart. And our finances are, I can't believe I'm saying this, better than they have ever been. And we are living with so much joy and health and abundance. And I can reflect now on the entire experience and see that it has been a deep learning for me to receive on a whole new level, to rewire my ability to receive on a whole new level. I mean, I have been on my journey when it comes to receiving. In fact, calling in James, my husband, having been a single mama for 8 years, there was a whole journey of learning to receive within that, and a whole journey of understanding masculine, feminine energy principles so that I could receive a healthy relationship. The same in my business. That has been a journey of receivership as well. It's not like this is, it's not my first rodeo. I have been on the journey of learning how to receive from life, from God, from myself. But these last couple of years have deepened that journey because, and I had some shame attached to this. And actually, if I'm really honest, as I'm speaking to you, I can still feel a little remnant of embarrassment. And I would say this is linked to the Australian tall poppy syndrome, where you don't want to stand out and you don't want to make out that you're too good because you'll get cut down. The life I'm living right now is a life that I wrote in my journals relentlessly many years ago. What I have co-created with the divine and with my husband is everything that I wanted. Everything that I wanted. And to be able to sit here with you now, sharing that, and actually saying it to you out loud now, I can feel the remnants of the embarrassment. Crazy, I know. Embarrassed to say I have everything I dreamed of. I worked my socks off. I surrendered my socks off. I prayed my socks off. I've done it all to be in this place now of being in receivership of everything that I wanted. And I can feel the remnants of the embarrassment of saying that start to fall away. So thank you for giving me this space, for listening this far into this episode, to allow me to release even more that worry that others would judge me because I'm daring to say that I have everything I wanted. Aren't we weird and wonderful, us humans? Don't we believe the craziest shit and stories? And such is the human experience. And so I reached this point of my sacred void feeling deeply grateful and really, really inspired to guide and coach and support other women who are moving through their own version of the sacred void. Women who perhaps haven't given themselves permission yet to stop, and to stop in a way that works for them. Maybe to women who are right in the middle of it and wrestling with the shame, perhaps, or the feelings of irrelevance. I mean, that's something I haven't even mentioned, but part of stopping for me was pulling right back off social media, not being in the spotlight, people really not knowing what was going on in my world, having been so visible and transparent and sharing all of me in my life for so many years. I went dark and feelings of irrelevance came up. Yeah. Every business coach I've ever had, I could hear them like ringing in my ears. People are going to forget you, Katie. You've worked too hard to be forgotten. You will never have a business if you don't continually build your mailing list. If you're a coach, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is the messaging that we receive. And while there is some morsels of truth, it's not true. How you do business, how I do business, how we show up in the world, for each of us, it's our own unique journey. And I know, having walked this, that true success only comes when you are truly moving with the rhythm of your own being and your own soul, and speaking the truth of your own being and your own soul. That is how I would define success. So wherever you are at on your journey, maybe you haven't entered the sacred void yet, maybe you won't ever have to. And the more I'm open about this conversation, the more women are opening up to me that they felt the calling. And it tends to be a midlife piece because of the hormonal shifts where your body is saying, no more, I can't do it that way anymore. And we have to find our new way. And this is where I'm at now. You know, I've emerged out of the little cocoon of my sacred void, and here I am launching my podcast. It feels good and it feels exciting. And I am launching a 5-day free experience called Awakened and Aligned for high achieving midlife women who want me to take their hand and help them with their journey into the next chapter, wherever life stage you're at in that space. I feel really ready to hold that space. And I can do it with deep integrity and authenticity because I've been walking in that space. And I have created a brand new 12-month women's work program called Be Her. I am so inspired by it, and I have a very strong intuition. I can't quite describe it except to say, and this comes as no surprise to you, the world is moving into another interesting phase, let's say. And in the same way that I felt so called to hold space for women at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm feeling the call in the same way that this space, Be Her, my new women's program, is going to be a 12-month container for a similar reason. And by the way, when I held that space for the pandemic, I actually created my brand new Love Lounge membership in the November of 2019. That I had a calling, I had the download to, it wasn't like, oh, new business structure, create a membership, recurring revenue, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that. It was a calling, create a safe container, create a safe space online. Women need it. And then boom, pandemic. Did not expect that. But thank goodness I had what I had in place. And I'm feeling it again now. And this is what Be Her is. This isn't about, I'm not trying to fearmonger here. I have no idea what's coming. I just know that women do better in the company of other women on the same page. We just do. It's fact. And I feel very privileged to be in a position that I can lead and hold a space like that. I am ready. I'm raring to go. And I will be modeling how you can move through the world with a lot of purpose while taking care of yourself, while moving with the new rhythms of your midlife body and hormones and all that goes on with that. I really take a stand for that. And so yeah, that's what's being produced at the moment, and it's happening very creatively and intuitively with a lot of inspiration, and it's happening slow in a nice, gentle, easy way. I'm being shown day by day by day what to create, who it's for, and I'm trusting that it will land with the women it's meant to land with. And this podcast is part of that kind of divine download. So, my darling, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode. It's an important one for me personally, and I really hope that it has landed for you. And there's been some nuggets there that have helped you and will support you going forward. Just to let you know, the next 3 episodes of the podcast are special segments called Sisters on Speed Dial. And I am interviewing in each one women who are close friends of mine who were by my side while I was moving through the sacred void because they were going through their own. And so I've interviewed them for them to share their experience of the void with you. Because while our experiences are all remarkably similar, they're unique. We're different women living in different parts of the world with different faiths and beliefs and so on. So yeah, I really, really do hope that you will take a listen to their stories. They're very inspiring. And if you feel called to come and be with me more and in my community more and with really cool women who get it and who are on board with conversations like this, then please do come and join my 5-day experience that's coming up. We start on the 20th of October. It runs for 5 days. It's called Awakened and Aligned. It's a women's circle. I won't go into all the details. I'll put the link below for all the information. It's free and we get to hang out together in a safe space for that week. And of course, on the back of that, I will be inviting you to come and join my Be Her 12-month group program. And if you already know you're a yes for that, I'll put the link below and we can get on a call and we can explore if it is the right fit for you. So my darling, that leaves me to say only this. You are daring and mighty.